Hello students, welcome to the next class of continuity. So in this class also I will discuss few more examples so as to make you things clear. So let us recall first what was the definition of continuity. So let me to recall. So when can I say my function f of x is continuous at a point, right? At a point x equals to a. So when does this thing holds? It holds whenever the limit x tending to a f of x comes out to be equal to f of a. So whenever this thing holds, we say that our function is continuous at that point. So let's see a example, that is f of x equals to x power n, where n is any positive integer, and we are asked to check the continuity at the point x equals to n. So for this, I will just apply the definition, that is limit x tending to n f of x, that must come out to be equal to f of n. Fine with this? Now, what is your f of n? That is nothing but n raised to power n, right? Because your f of x is x power n. So what will be your f of n? That will be n raised to power n. Fine. So mark this as equation number star. Now, what is the limit x tending to n f of x? So the limit x tending to n f of x. What is f of x in that case? Whenever my function is tending towards n, so that is given to me as x power n, right? And now this is a polynomial function, right? So you can insert the limit directly inside. So our answer will come out to be n raised to power n. And from star and double star, I can say that my function f of x, which is x power n, is continuous at the point x equals to n. The next question is find the points of discontinuity of this function. And the function is given to me as f of x equals to x plus 1 whenever my x is greater than or equal to 1. And it is x squared plus 1 whenever my x is strictly less than 1. Now, in such kind of questions, whenever my function after 1 is defined in some other way, right? And before 1 it is defined in some other way. So, and we are asked to find the points of discontinuity. So you will choose any arbitrary point C, right? Now C can lie in this region also, in this region also, or it can exactly be on 1 also. So we will take three cases. The case 1, that is C is equals to 1, right? Case 2, when C is greater than 1. Case 3, when C is strictly less than 1. Fine with this? Now let me to discuss the case when C is equal to 1. Other two cases I will leave up to you to solve because they are very similar to the questions which I have described in the previous video lecture. So when my C is exactly equal to 1, so what is my f of 1? See, equality lies here. So corresponding to this, my function is defined as x plus 1. So f of 1 comes out to be equal to 1 plus 1, which is 2. Another one. That is a limit x tending to 1 f of x. So what is that? Now, since the function after 1 is defined in some other way and before 1 it is defined in some other way, so we need to calculate the left hand limit and the right hand limit. So what will be the left hand limit? That is x tending to 1 from the negative side. And when I am approaching towards 1 from the negative side, so how can I define my function? The function is defined as x squared plus 1. Fine with this? When I am approaching towards 1 from the right hand side, the function is defined as x plus 1. Fine. And now you can easily calculate the limits. In both the cases, the limit will come out to be equal to 2. And that was equal to the value of the function. And hence, I will say that when my C is exactly equal to 1, the function is continuous. And similarly, you can go back and check in this case 2 and case 3 also, the function will come out to be continuous. And hence, the points of discontinuity in this case will be nothing but the empty set. Moving on to the another question. In this case also, we have to calculate, we have to find the points of discontinuity. So we have to find the points of discontinuity. So whenever I am given the function involving modulus or greatest integer, so always piecewise define the function. So f of x is given to me as mod x by x when x is non-zero. And when x is 0, it is given to me as 0. So you need to piecewise define the function, right? Whenever, so how can I define the mod x? So let me to recall, mod x is defined as x whenever my x is greater than or equal to 0. And when x is strictly less than 0, so mod x takes the value minus x. So just piecewise define this function. So when my x will be less than 0, so the mod x will open as minus x upon x, right? Because of this. And whenever my x is greater than 0, so it will open as x by x. And when x is exactly equal to 0, so the answer is 0. Fine with this? Now, just cancel out the terms. X upon minus x upon x is minus 1. Another one will be 1. Another one will be 0. We need to check the points of discontinuity. So we will take the three cases when C is exactly equal to 0, when C is greater than 0, and when C is less than 0. Case 2 and case 3, I will leave up to you to solve. Let me come to case number 1, when C is exactly equal to 0. So case 1, when C is exactly equal to 0. X tending to 0, f of x. Now you can see when I am approaching to x from the left or the right, the nature of the function is changing. So you have to check the left hand limit and the right hand limit. In case of left hand limit, that is a limit x tending to 0 from negative side. And if you are approaching from the negative side, what is the value of the function? That is a -1. So in this case, the limit comes out to be -1. And when I'm approaching towards 0 from the right hand side, what is the value of the function? The value of the function is 1. So in this case, it comes out to be equal to 1. So LHL is not equal to RHL. And hence, function is not continuous at x equals to 0. Fine with this because my C was equals to 0. So the point of discontinuity is x equals to 0. In both these cases, either C is greater than 0 or C is less than 0, the function will come out to be continuous. So the final answer is, that is the points of discontinuity for this function is nothing but the singleton 0. Moving on to the another example, that is f of x is defined as 3 whenever my x lies between 0 to 1. It is defined as 4 whenever my x lies between 1 and 3. And similarly 5 whenever my x lies between 3 and 10. So I can easily draw the graph of this function. Fine. So whenever my x is lying between 0 and 1, so the value of the function is nothing but 3. So you can draw this line y equals to 3, right? Similarly, when my x is lying between 1 and 3, the value of the function is 4. So you should draw a line y equals to 4. And similarly, between 3 and 10, what is the value of the function f of x? That is y equals to 5. From the graph, you can easily see that the function is discontinuous, right? At the point 1 also, at the point 3 also. Fine. But let me to prove this using mathematically, right? So three cases. Case 1, when my C will lie between 0 and 1, right? Case 2 will be when my C will be exactly equal to 1. Case 3, when my C will lie between 1 and 3. Fine. And the case 4, when C will be exactly equal to 3. Case 5, when my C will lie between 3 and 10, right? So these are the cases which I will be discussing. Now, let me to start with case 1, when my C lies between 0 and 1. What is the value of the function? What is f of C? Whenever my C lies between 0 and 1, so my function takes the value as 3. So f of C comes out to be equal to 3. But what is the limit? Limit extending to C f of x. Now mind it, C is lying between 0 and 1. So in that case, what is my function? The function is nothing but y equals to 3. And the limit of a constant function is nothing but the constant. Fine with this? So whenever my C lies between closed 0 and open 1, the value of the function and the limit of the function comes out to be equal. So in this region, my function f of x is continuous. And you can see also, whenever we are talking between 0 and 1, so y equals to 3 is the function and it is clearly continuous. Come to the point C equals to 1. What is the value of f of 1? You can see where is the equality? Equality is in here. So value of the function is 3. So f of 1 is equal to 3. And what is the limits? So the left hand limit and the right hand limit. Limit x tending to 1 positive and 1 negative. When I'm approaching towards 1 from the right hand side, so the value of the function is y equals to 4. And when I'm approaching to from the left, that is y equals to 3. So clearly you can see, so a right hand limit and the left hand limit, they comes out to be equal to 4 and 3, and they are not equal. So I will say that the function is not continuous at x equals to 1. Case 3, when my C lies between 1 and 3. So you can see whenever my C lies between 1 and 3, so the value of the function is 4, right? And now let me to calculate. Now let me to calculate limit x tending to C f of x. So whenever my C is lying between 1 and 3, so the f of x is nothing but 4. So in this case also it comes out to be 4, and limit of the function is equal to the value of the function at that point. So hence, whenever my C lies between 1 and 3, the function is always continuous. Case 4, when my C is exactly equal to 3. So you can see what is the f of 3. So equality is in the last portion. So f of 3 is 5. So we need to calculate the left hand limit as well as the right hand limit. So whenever we approach towards 3 from the right hand side, the value of the function is 5. And when I approach 3 from the left hand side, so the value of the function is 4. So clearly they are not equal. So the function f of x is not continuous at 3 also. And the last case, that is when c lies between 3 to 10. So what is the value of f of c? So f of c will come out to be 5. You can easily see this from the definition of the function. And what is the limit? Limit extending to c f of x. That is nothing but 5, because whenever my c is lying between 3 and less than equal to 10, the f of x is 5. And the limit of a constant function is a constant. Clearly, the value of the function is equal to the limit of the function, and hence the function is continuous at the point c when my c lies between 3 and 10. And now let me to conclude what were the points of discontinuity. The points of discontinuity were, so that was from the case second, that is c equals to 1, and from case number 4, that is c equals to 3. So you can make the set of points of discontinuity, that is a 1 and 3. Now let me to consider one more example, that is f of x is defined as -2 whenever x is less than equal to 1. It is defined as 2x whenever my x lies between -1 to 1. It is defined as 2 whenever my x is greater than 1. So we can draw the graph of this function very easily whenever my x is greater than 1, right? So the value of the function is 2. So whenever my x is greater than 1, so the graph of the function is y equals to 2. You can see here, right? Now, whenever my x lies between -1 to 1, so we have a line that is a y equals to 2x. So straight line passing through origin. And the last one, that is whenever my x is less than or equal to -1. So we need to draw y equals to -2. So the graph of the function is described here. You can easily see that this graph has no breaks, and hence from the graph we can say that my function f of x, which is piecewise defined, is continuous. But we need to prove all these facts mathematically also. So for this, let me to take c, which is any point on real line. So the first case is when c is less than -1. Case 2 will be when c is equal to -1, and third case will be when c will be greater than -1. So these are the three cases. So let me to start with when c is less than -1. So what is f of c? So whenever my c is less than -1, so f of c is -2. And similarly, when I take the limiting case, that is a limit extending to c f of x. So what is f of x in that case? That is a constant function -2. So the limit comes out to be -2. So I will say that my function is continuous whenever my c is less than -1. But what about when I reach at -1? So f of -1 is -2, because you can see -1 equality comes in the first part, right? So f of -1 is 2. But what about limit extending to -1? So about the point -1, the function changes its nature, right? So we need to calculate the left hand limit and the right hand limit. So if I approach -1 from the right hand side, what is the value of the function? That is y equals to 2x. And if I approach -1 from the left hand side, what is the nature of the function? That is -2, right? And now if you calculate the limit in both the cases, that comes out to be equal to -2. Fine with this? And value of the function is equal to the limit of the function. So I say that my function, which is piecewise defined, is continuous at the point c equals to -1. Similarly, the other cases I will leave up to you to discuss. The third case will be when my c will be, right, greater than -1, right? So you can discuss this case also when my c is greater than -1 and it is less than 1. The other case, that is a case 4, the case 4 can be when my c is exactly equal to 1, and the case 5, that is when my c is greater than 1. So you can discuss all these cases, and in all these cases you will just get the one answer, that is my function is continuous. Now let me to discuss the another problem, that is find the value of lambda. Such kind of questions usually appear in the board exam. So we have to find the value of the lambda. We are given that the function is continuous at the point x equals to 0. And how the function is defined? The function is defined as whenever my x is less than or equal to 0, so the value of the function is lambda into x square minus 2x, and whenever my x is strictly greater than 0, so it is 4x plus 1. Fine with this? Now, what we need to do, we are given that the function is continuous at x equals to 0. So what is the meaning of that? So it means f of 0 must be equal to the limit x tending to 0 f of x, right? And what is your f of 0? So equality is in the upper region, right? In the first part of the piecewise defined function. So when you substitute x equals to 0 in this portion, so what do you get? That is f of 0 comes out to be equal to 0. But what about the limit? If you calculate the limit of x tending to 0 and the nature of the function is changing, right, about the point 0. So we need to calculate the right hand limit and the left hand limit. Now, if you calculate the right hand limit, that is limit x tending to 0 positive. So you are approaching 0 from the right hand side. So if you are doing so, what is the nature of the function? That is a 4x plus 1, right? And now if you calculate the limit, which is equal to 1. In the another case, if you calculate the left hand limit, right? So what is the f of x in this case? So that is lambda into x square minus 2x. And if you take the limit in this case, that comes out to be equal to 0, right? So clearly left hand limit is not equal to right hand limit. So the function is not continuous at x equals to 0. So does there exist any value of lambda for which the function will become continuous? No, there cannot be any value of lambda for which the function becomes continuous at x equals to 0, because at x equals to 0, the function is going to be definitely discontinuous. Now, case 2, when you take x equals to 1, so if you are given that the function is continuous at the point x equals to 1, so just calculate the limit x tending to 1 f of x, which must be equal to f of 1, right? Because we are given the function is continuous at x equals to 1. So what is f of 1? So both of these things will lie in this region, that is a 4x plus 1. So f of 1 comes out to be equal to 5. You just substitute x equals to 1 here. What about limit? Limit x tending to 1, right? Approaching 1, f of x. So what is the nature of f of x in this case? That is again 4x plus 1. You can clearly see from above, right? And in this case also the value of the function comes out to be equal to 5, right? So the limit of the function becomes equal to the value of the function. So we will say the function is always continuous at the point x equals to 0. So, and we got the answer independent of lambda. So we will say that lambda can take any value. So for any value of lambda, the function f of x, which was defined above, is continuous at the point x equals to 1. Now, before discussing the next problem, let me to define what is the greatest integer function. So greatest integer function is defined as the greatest integer less than or equal to. Fine. So you have to find the greatest integer which was less than or equal to. For example, if you calculate the greatest integer of 3, so 3 is itself an integer, so answer will come out to be 3. But what about 3.1? So 3.1 is here, right? So what is the greatest integer less than or equal to? That is, you have to search about the nearest integer, right? So what is the nearest integer which was less than or equal to 3.1? So that was 3, right? So answer in this case comes out to be equal to 3. Similarly, 3.99. So in that case also, what is the greatest integer? That is a 3. What is the greatest integer of 4? That is 4. Similarly, 4.1 has greatest integer 4, right? Similarly, -1 has greatest integer -1. You can calculate the various values of the greatest integer function. But the question here is, now I need to check the continuity of the greatest integer function. And firstly, let's draw the graph of this function so as to, get the feel whether the function will be continuous or not. So see, whenever my x will lie between 0 and 1, right? Whenever my x will lie between 0 and 1. So between 0 and 1, the greatest integer will always be 0. So draw a line y equals to 0 whenever my x is lying between 0 and 1. So that will be this thing, right? So you can see this thing only, right? Similarly, whenever my x will lie between 1 and 2, so what is the greatest integer? The greatest integer is 1. So draw the line y equals to 1. But what about the point 1? About the point 1, we have the answer as 1. So there will be a dark round here and a hollow round here. Similarly, for the other points also you can draw, and from the picture, from the graph, you can easily see that the greatest integer function is discontinuous at all integers. So students, you should try making this graph and you will visualize that the graph is discontinuous at every integer. Now let me to prove this result mathematically. F of x is equal to greatest integer, right? So observation, that is f of x is discontinuous at all the integral points, that is at integers, right? So you choose n to be any integer, right? So if you just suppose n to be any integer, so now for continuity, what should I do? I should calculate f of n, that is must be equal to limit x tending to n f of x, right? So what is f of n? F of n is greatest integer of n, and what is your n? N is any integer. So the greatest integer of any integer comes out to be equal to n itself, right? So f of n comes out to be equal to n. But what about the left hand limit and the right hand limit? Now just imagine if you have the interval 3 to 4, right? If you have the interval 3 to 4 on the number line, right? And if you are approaching towards 3 from the left hand side, right? You are approaching towards 3 from the left hand side. So what will be the greatest integer in this case? So in this case, the greatest integer will be 2. So whenever I am approaching towards n, from the left hand side, the greatest integer is always n minus 1. Similarly, if you are approaching towards C from the right hand side. So in that case, the greatest integer will always be the 3. So whenever you are taking the greatest integer of a number and you are approaching towards that number from the right hand side, right? So the greatest integer in that case will be equal to the number itself, right? So that is n. Fine with this. And clearly both of them are not equal. So the left hand limit is not equal to the right hand limit. So I can say that the function greatest integer is not continuous at all integer points. Similarly, I leave a exercise for you, that is f of x equals to x minus greatest integer x. So you can also draw the graph of this function. And on the similar lines, as I have proved that the greatest integer is a discontinuous at all the integral points. So in the same fashion, this question can also be proved. Now moving on to the next question, that is the function f of x, which is x square minus sine x plus 5, is continuous at x equals to pi? So if it is continuous, so what I need to check, that is, firstly we need to check f of pi, right? So that will be pi square minus sine pi plus 5, and sine pi is 0 because we know sine n pi is always 0 where n is an integer, right? So the value of the function comes out to be equal to pi square plus 5. But what about the limit x tending to pi f of x? So that is important. So limit x tending to pi, what is the f of x? That is x square minus sine x plus 5, right? Now, whenever we are dealing with sine or trigonometric functions, so the technique is always the same. So if you are taking limit x tending to pi, we always substitute x equals to pi plus h. And now if x is approaching towards pi, so the limit h will go towards the 0. So just take limit h tending to 0, and in place of x, substitute pi plus h everywhere. So the first term, that is x square, will become pi plus h whole square. The second term, that is sine of pi plus h, right? And the last is 5 only. Now you can divide the limits in the 3 portions, right? The first portion is this, second is this, and the third is this. You can see from the third portion, the limit of a constant function always comes out to be a constant. In this case also, this is a polynomial, so you can just insert the 0 h. So you can always substitute h equals to 0 inside, so you get pi square. But what about this sine of pi plus h, right? So always whenever we are dealing with such things, so apply the formula, that is a sine of a plus b. So what do I get? I get sine a cos b, right? Plus cos a sine b. And what is my limit? Limit is h tending towards 0. So just put h equals to 0 now. So what will be the cos 0, right? What will be cos 0? That is 1, right? And what will be sine 0? So here it will be sine 0, it will be 0. And 0 into anything is, right? 0 into anything is 0. So this portion will always come out to be equal to 0, right? And what about the first portion? Sine pi is 0. So 0 into 1 plus, right, plus 0. So overall this comes out to be equal to 0 only. Fine. So, and before terms were pi square plus 5. Fine with this. And what was the value of the function? The value of the function was also pi square plus 5, right? So I can say that my function, that is a x square minus sine x plus 5, is continuous at the point x equals to pi. So moving on to the next concept, discuss the continuity of the following functions, that is f of x equals to sine x plus cos x. Then another one is sine x minus cos x, and the last one is sine x into cos x. So there is a result which I will be applying here, right, in this question. That is, if we have two continuous functions, then the sum, difference, and the product is always continuous. So if I want to apply this result in the above question, so I just need to prove that sine x as well as cos x, they are continuous function. In this video, I will just explain that how you can prove that sine x is a continuous function, and I will leave cos x to be a continuous function, an exercise for you guys to solve. So let's begin by solving that sine x is a continuous function. So let me take gx equals to sine x and hx equals to cos x and c be any real number. So if I want to prove that sine x is a continuous function, so what I need to do, that is a g of c must be equal to the limit x tending to c g of x. Whenever we are dealing with trigonometric functions, so what is the approach? That is put x equals to c plus h, right? So whenever x is approaching towards c, so limit h will go towards 0. So limit x tending to c g of x. So what is that? That is limit h tending towards 0 sine of c plus h, right? So just substitute x equals to c plus h here. Now expand this formula, sine of a plus b, that is sine a cos b plus cos a sine b. And now take the limit h tending towards 0. So sine 0 will be 0. 0 into anything is 0, right? And in the first part, that is cos 0, which is equal to 1. And 1 into sine c is sine c. And what is my g of c? What was my g of x? G of x was sine x. So g of c will be sine c. So g of c comes out to be equal to the limit x tending c g of x. So can I say that gx is a continuous function? Yes, gx is a continuous function. On the similar lines, you can also prove that cos x is also a continuous function. And once you proved that sine x and cos x, they are continuous function, just apply this result, that the sum of two continuous function, the difference of two continuous function, and the product of two continuous function is always a continuous function. So in three parts, you will get that these functions are continuous. Before concluding this video lecture, let me to take one more result, that is, if g and h are two continuous function, then their quotient, that is hx upon gx, provided gx should not be 0, they are also continuous. 1 upon g, that is a reciprocal of a continuous function, is also continuous provided g should not be 0. And similarly 1 upon h is also continuous provided h of x is non-zero. Now let me to take the application of the above result. So if you are asked to prove that cosecant x is a continuous function, so can I write cosecant x as 1 upon sine x? And we have already proved that sine x is a continuous function. So 1 upon sine x will be a continuous function. You just need to exclude all those points where sine x becomes 0. And when my sine x becomes 0, at x equals to n pi, where n is an integer. Fine with this. So cosecant x is a continuous at all the points except at the point when x equals to n pi, where n is any integer. Fine with this. Similarly, if somebody asks me, what about secant x? So I'll say I can write secant x as 1 over cos x, and I have proved that cos x is a continuous function. So 1 upon cos x will also be the continuous function, except at those points where cos x becomes 0. And cos x becomes 0 at odd multiples of pi by 2. Again, n can be any integer, right? So secant x is continuous at all points except at the point when x equals to 2n plus 1 by 2 into pi by 2. Similarly, you can also prove that tan x is a continuous function, right? Why? Because you can write tan x as sine x upon cos x. Sine is a continuous, cos is a continuous. So the division will also be the continuous function. You just need to exclude all those points where cos x becomes 0. So tan x will be a continuous function, and you just need to exclude the points that is the odd multiple of pi by 2, right? And similarly, for the cot x also, you can write cot x as cos x over sine x. Cos x is continuous, sin x is continuous, so their division will also be continuous, right? And you just need to exclude all those points where my sin x becomes 0. And sin x becomes 0 at whenever my x is a multiple of pi, where n is any integer. So cot x is continuous except at the point x equals to n pi, where n is any integer. So I hope the concept of continuity and all these problems which I have described in this video lecture are clear to you now. In case if you have any difficulty, you can mention your doubts in the comment section. In the upcoming video lectures, we will be exploring few more concepts on continuity. So I hope you have enjoyed this video session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, students.